What is going on, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic day today. The topic for today's video is something that I've been wanting to make for a very long time, but I actually haven't had enough ideas to make this video. Now that will make sense to you when I explain the topic of today's video, which is the 7 things that I hate about my Dodge Challenger 392 Hemi Scat Pack Shaker. Number 1 is the name. I'm just joking, just playing around. But honestly, this has taken me a while to come up with a comprehensive list that I think is a little bit different than what you've seen on other YouTube videos. And at the same time, you know, is some of the pains and the discomforts that I've had with this car over my whole 5-month ownership. It has taken me all of these 5 months to come up with a list that's more than just like 3 items. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 7 items that I hate about my Dodge Challenger. Now, hate is a very strong word, so I would never say that I actually hate anything about this car. It's just some stuff that I wish that Dodge could have done a little bit better. So let's kick it off with the first thing that I hate about my Dodge Challenger. Now, none of these items are in any particular order, but item number 1 is probably the thing that I like the least about my car. And that is honestly an option that came with this car when I purchased it. So if you recall, when I explained the packages that came with this vehicle, one of them is the adaptive cruise control feature, which is essentially just a little camera on the front grille that mimics the same speed as the car in front of you, and they'll slow down and speed up as that car in front of you does the same. It won't bring you to a complete stop. It actually shuts off at around 10 miles an hour. But nonetheless, it's a pretty cool feature when you're on the highway and, you know, you're going for a long road trip. That way you don't have to consistently, you know, brake or hit the gas because the cruise control doesn't do all of that. So overall, it is a very good feature. But the problem is, although I can turn on and off the adaptive cruise control using the toggles on my steering wheel, I can't turn off this other feature that really gets on my nerves and is the number 1 thing that I really don't like about this car. So when you're driving this car and you end up approaching a vehicle and the car doesn't think that you'll be able to brake in time, or it thinks that you're distracted, it's going to stop everything that you're doing. It shuts down the music, and with a loud noise that comes up all around you, it beeps, and all of a sudden in bright red letters, it'll write brake with 2 exclamation points, one in the beginning, one in the end. Bright red letters on the center infotainment screen, not the dashboard one, but the one where your speedometer is. And with this sound, it kind of disorients you, and you see that, oh, you have to brake. That's all good and well, especially if you're a distracted driver, but every single time it's gone off for me has been in non-ideal situations. So for example, I was driving in a parking garage and it's a steady incline going up. And for some reason, as I was going about 10, 15 miles an hour on this incline, the car misunderstood the concrete as a barrier, and all of a sudden this loud noise came on and the brake sign came on, and it really disorients you and kind of freaks you out. I'd love to recreate it for you, but that would mean I'd almost have to get in an accident in order to show it, and so I definitely don't want to risk doing that. But if you see any other videos, or if you know about this feature, you know what I'm talking about. The other times that this feature incorrectly scares me is when I'm driving down the road and say the car in front of me is pulling off into a driveway or into a different road. Well, you know, being a human, you understand that you can go around that car, and that way you avoid any accidents, and you avoid, you know, pushing the brake pedal and then reaccelerating again. You can kind of just go around. That's law. You're allowed to do that. Well, when the car, my vehicle, sees that happening in front of it, it thinks that I'm actually going to swerve and slam right into the car in front rather than move my steering wheel out of the way. And for that reason, it automatically jolts me with that sound and those big bright red letters on the screen. And honestly, although I wasn't disoriented beforehand and I was paying attention, this makes me take my attention off of the road and onto my steering wheel, which is just a distraction, especially when you're in such a situation. So in my experience, this feature has been very annoying and it hasn't helped me at all. I understand where they were coming from, but I wish there was an option in my Uconnect system that I could shut this feature off. I've tried, I've looked, I haven't seen any option like that. If you guys know of a way that I can shut this off, please, please, please leave them in the comments below, because I would love to turn it off. Now for the second thing that I really hate about my Dodge Challenger. Now, although I think build quality has really come a long way, and it honestly is really great, I can't really complain about anything in particular, there are just 2 small things that I wish Dodge had improved on. The first is the seats. So these seats are very comfortable, they're very nice. The problem is, I have noticed that the seats have started tearing a little bit, or showing some wear and tear on the bolstering on the left-hand side of the driver's seat. So essentially when you're coming in and out of the car, you rub up against the bolstering, and I can understand how that could cause maybe some leather to wrinkle and stuff like that, but it has gone ahead and almost scratched up my entire leather on the left-hand side of the seat, and I just think that at 20,000 miles, that really shouldn't be happening. It's not like I'm wearing chains on the back of my shirt or I'm wearing armor. I'm just wearing t-shirts, you know, cotton, polyester, that really shouldn't scratch up the leather so bad. But I've noticed that's something that they could have improved on and maybe reinforced it or done something, because I've noticed it on other Dodge Challengers, not just my own. The second thing I think they could have improved in terms of build quality is the Uconnect system. Now, overall, it's worked great for me. It's been fantastic, but there have been times where I've been driving down the road and all of a sudden it'll completely shut off and pretty much reboot the entire system. Now, luckily, my mechanicals all work, so my gas pedal, brake pedal, they all work. You know, air conditioning's still fine, but I can't really control anything else in terms of the music or anything like that. It just shuts completely off and does a full reboot. Now, I can understand how every computer needs to be rebooted. That makes sense. That's normal. But I kind of wish that they would do that when the car was turned off, or when I turn off the car, it would just reboot itself rather than doing it while I'm, you know, on the freeway going 60 miles an hour, because it kind of just disorients me. I don't really know what's going on, or if any other system is going to shut off. You know, in today's day and age where everything is controlled by a giant computer, it kind of worries me that my Uconnect system just shuts off in the middle of the road when I'm going 60 miles an hour. Now let's go to the third thing that I hate about my Dodge Challenger. So this car comes equipped with heated and ventilated seats. And although those are great options, I think that Dodge could have done a better job in the performance of these seats. What I mean by this is the heated function works okay most of the time. So if you recall my previous car, which was the Mercedes C-Class, although it did not have ventilated seats, the heated seats in that car worked fantastic. They never failed. They always worked every time I hit the button, and they would probably heat the seat within 15 to 30 seconds. So they were really amazing heated seats, and I really enjoyed them. And I thought it would be the same in this car because it's all using Mercedes-Benz parts. But unfortunately, the heated seats in this car are just okay. They're not great, they're not awful, but they're just okay. What's worse is the ventilated seat function. Now, honestly, when I have the ventilated seats on, I can barely tell if they're actually on. I have to physically put my hand on the seat in order to feel if it's any cooler than my legs, and because my body doesn't feel the ventilation that it's providing. So I think that they could have done a much better job, because on high, you can barely feel it. On low, you can't feel it at all. It's almost like it's not even on. And I'm talking like even at 80-degree temperatures, 90, 100, I'm talking about a broad spectrum of different temperatures. It really doesn't cool you down much, so it's almost just there for show. I think that partially has to do with the fact that these seats are much thicker and bigger than the ones I had in my Mercedes. Now, the distance from, you know, the filaments to my butt in the Mercedes were much smaller than the distance here, because the cushion is bigger, the seats are larger, and that makes sense. But I kind of wish that they would just beef up the power that they would output from the heated and ventilated features. Now for the fourth thing that I hate about my Dodge Challenger. So this brings me to the storage room within this car. Now, I think storage space is great in terms of you have map pockets, you have, you know, like places to put just random stuff here and there. You got a big glove compartment, you got a big center console, but there are some things that I wish they could have done better. In fact, I have no place to put my phone. And that's my biggest gripe about this car, is that there's really no place to stick your phone. Now, they have this little center small kind of storage bin that's right next to the gear selector, but the problem is your phone definitely doesn't fit in there, no matter what phone size you have. Even if you have a flip phone, I don't think it fits there. And I can barely even fit my keys in that little slot, so I'm not sure what that is for. And in my previous car, my Mercedes, I would stick my phone into the cup holder and it'd hold it pretty well. Like it was pretty stable. Here, if I put it in the cup holder, it wobbles around, and then within seconds it'll just fall or you know, fly out of the cup holder itself. So I kind of have to put it sideways, which is, it just balances on that center ridge. It's just awkward. It doesn't really fit. And it surprises me that a German car had more cup holder space than an American car. Very weird. Going off that storage space, I also don't like that there really isn't a place for me to put loose change. Now, typically some cars in my previous car had this. They either had like a bin or some kind of like little compartment thing where you slide in loose change, quarters, pennies. This car doesn't have that. Now, I'm not sure why they didn't put it in. Maybe your vehicle does, but I wish it was standard in the car. I wish it was in my center arm console. I could just lift it up, and then there was this little place that I could just put all my coins, because other than that, I don't really have a place to put it. I can't put it in that console gear selector because it's just out in the open, and I think it's going to scratch up the plastic in it. Also, I don't like to leave change out in the open. So honestly, just those two things I wish they could have improved on. I feel like they could have made a little slot underneath the Uconnect screen that I could just slide my phone into. They could have even done like a wireless charging pad like a lot of other competitors are doing nowadays. I just feel like they maybe skimped out on putting that stuff in, and I wish that this car had that. And that brings me to the fifth thing that I hate about my Dodge Challenger. Now, this could be for my particular car, not necessarily yours, but I've noticed that the brakes squeal really loudly in this car. Now, I know that can be for a variety of reasons in terms of brake pads, the rotors that you have, the brake pads that you have, the wear and tear on them. There's a plethora of different reasons why that could happen. But for my particular car, that's something I really dislike, because I could be pulling up to a stoplight, my car looks really nice, and all of a sudden it has this loud brake squeal that kind of just takes away from the whole ambiance of the car. It's very loud, it's very annoying, and when I'm trying to be quiet at night, when I'm pulling into my driveway, it's just really loud. I don't like it, and I've tried to find ways to clean it and stuff like that, and my brake pads are pretty new, and so are the rotors, and they haven't been worn too hard, so I don't really get why it's squealing so much. I think it is a Fiat Chrysler automotive issue, an FCA issue, because I've noticed it on like Maseratis and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it's for my particular car or if it's a broader issue. If you guys have that issue, please leave it in the comments below. But it's something that I really don't like, and eventually I'm gonna have to try to either change the brake pads, even though they're perfectly fine, or, you know, figure out a way to get rid of that sound. If you guys have recommendations, please leave them in the comments below as well. Now that brings me to the sixth thing that I hate about this car, which happens to be how hard it is to clean these wheels. Now, I've purchased a wide variety of different sprays and cleaners and whatever have you from AutoZone, and they don't really seem to do the job. I've even used the brush at the car wash to you know, clean off and put soap on the wheels, and as soon as I step off the car wash, they're dirty again. I can't seem to clean them. So that really gets on my nerves, because the wheels, you know, if you have clean wheels, it kind of makes it look like a cleaner car. But when I have a clean car and dirty wheels, it doesn't go very well, especially at car shows and stuff like that. So, you know, it's kind of annoying how hard it is to clean these wheels. I bet it has to do with the brake dust, the brakes release. But other than that, that's something that gets on my nerves. And if you do happen to have a recommendation on how to clean the wheels, or some kind of, you know, spray or formula that you use, please leave that in the comments below, because I would love to see these wheels clean for once at some point in my life. And that brings me to reason number 7. Now, the seventh thing that I really don't like about this car is the trunk shock absorber. So what I mean by that is, you know, the spring that the trunk uses once you open it up to hold the trunk in place so it doesn't collapse back on my head or my hands or wherever. Now, I understand that the trunk is very, very heavy. It's got a giant spoiler on it. It's a huge piece of sheet metal. It's bigger than the Ford Mustang and the Chevy Camaro. So I understand why, you know, it's difficult to have something that can hold so much weight in place and not have it slide down. But I've noticed that sometimes when it's a little bit chillier, so if it's like below 55 degrees, when I open the trunk lid, it'll actually fall a good maybe several inches to a whole foot from the position that I raised the trunk at, which, you know, it's fine, but sometimes it gets annoying when I'm trying to load something into the car. I have to pretty much balance holding up the trunk at the position that I want it to and placing that big object in there. Or, you know, if I end up reaching in and I lift my head up, I can slam my head on the trunk, and it's just, I feel like it's something they could improve. There are definitely more heavy duty types of like shock absorbers, if that's what you call them, that I think the Dodge could have used. Maybe it's just mine that are bad. Let me know if you guys have the same issue. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are the 7 things that I really hate about my Dodge Challenger. Now, like I said, it took me a while to come up with this list, and by no means are these things that I actually hate about my car. I think the first reason is really the only one that really gets on my nerves. Everything else is kind of just a minor inconvenience, but I couldn't come up with anything else. So that gives you kind of an idea, if you're looking to purchase this car, what you can expect. And really, this car has been amazing. And now the next video I'll upload probably in the next week or so will be the list of things that I love about this car. That's a much easier list, so I wanted to get this one out of the way. But should you have any further questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. Let me know what things you hate about your car, because I'd love to hear it, if it's similar to mine or if it's totally different. And you know, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Find me on Instagram at Schwazy_, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll catch you at the next video. Take care.